Okay, so good morning and welcome to our webinar, Getting Your Email Marketing Right. I'm Nick Sladek and I work at Essentia Mail, and we're an email marketing agency. We work mainly with B2B clients, helping them get in front of their potential customers as well as keeping their customers happy and nurturing them. Before we start, I'd just like to do a little bit of housekeeping. Today's webinar is going to run around 45 minutes. I'm not going to be able to answer questions as we go because that's multitasking that's slightly beyond me. So if you do have any questions, and I'm really happy to help, and I think this is what this morning's about, is about us giving you the insight that we have into email marketing. Please do drop us a line afterwards. There are a number of places you can find my email address, or just give me a call. I'm really happy to help. So what are we going to cover today? And I think this is just to give you a brief oversight about the things that we're going to talk about today. And I hope that you'll get some insight from this. And I hope my question or my thoughts are around the webinar is I'd like to give you some knowledge to help you get better results from what you're currently doing. Or if you're not doing email marketing or you're not happy with the way it's going, obviously you can have a chat with us at any time. So we're going to just talk about the whole B2B and B2C thing and why that distinction matters so much. I'm going to talk a little bit about where email marketing fits in to the whole marketing mix. Email marketing isn't a silver bullet. You need other bits. And we're going to touch on how about getting those other bits right first, perhaps before you do any email marketing, or to help you in terms of increasing the performance of what you're doing. I'm then going to touch on some basics about marketing, getting back to basics. We'll talk a little bit about subject lines, the good and the bad, why email marketing emails are a bit like speed dating. Now, you may wonder how I'm going to make the leap between speed dating and email marketing, and you've probably got about 15 or 20 minutes to ponder that before I share my thoughts around that with you. We're going to talk about measuring success, or measuring failure, or just measuring email marketing about whether it's working. How we do things at Essentia Mail, I think that's important. How to segment your marketplace. There are a number of marketing themes that come in here because it is a crucial element of doing any marketing that you understand or have a good understanding of why things work, why things don't. We're going to talk a little bit about where email marketing goes wrong, about selecting databases, and then about the forthcoming legislation, or the legislation actually exists, called GDPR, and how that might affect all of us here today. And then there's just a short conclusion at the end. So let's make a start then. Let's talk about B2B and B2C. And one of the things that I've noticed is whenever there is and there is an awful lot of advice about email marketing out there in the web, in the world, in the big old world in which we live, from all over the world. And what amazes me is there is very rarely, in fact, I've never seen a distinction between the whole B2B and B2C thing and why it matters so much. Now, I've got the list of the people that are here today, and all of them, perhaps bar one, live in the B2B world. And there's a really interesting distinction to be made between B2B and B2C. And that distinction for me is that B2B, and typical of everybody here on the webinar today, is they all offer a service. They don't have a trampoline to sell. They don't have any tangible things to sell. And that is perhaps a significant difference between the whole B2B and the whole B2C thing. Now, an example of that is I went to my Gmail account when I was doing this presentation, and I've been to Go Outdoors, and it's very easy for Go Outdoors to sell me a coat, a Berghaus jacket, or some boots, or some walking poles, or a rucksack, or a tent. They're all branded things. Same with Audible. I'm an Audible fan, so Audible send me emails and they give me a proposition, they give me a proposal. Yeah, pretty simple really, because all they have to do is they just have to tell me a little bit about the product they are selling, which I could buy elsewhere. I choose to buy it through them. And just like the people at Go Outdoors, they're largely selling products that I could buy somewhere else. Now, the distinction here is really significant because what happens when you're buying a product like a Berghaus jacket or some walking boots is it's about price, about how quickly it's going to get delivered, and it's about the reputation of the shop that I'm buying it from, the online place I'm buying it from, or the retailer I'm buying it from. And it's really quite a simple decision for me to make. And in terms of how email marketing works, I'm happy for Go Outdoors and I'm happy for Audible to send me deals. I'm a customer of both of those companies and it makes life pretty simple. However, the job that we're all doing, or that we do for our clients, and a number of you are doing in terms of the email marketing that you're doing, is you are staying in touch or nurturing the people that you have dealt with or spoken with or sent a proposal to, but you're also using email marketing as a way of generating business. And you're not selling a commodity, you're selling in the main a high value consultative service. And that's where the difference is, because you need to prove your capability. You need the nature of your service or product, your reputation, skills, ability, price and value. Will it deliver an ROI? Crucially, it's about your reputation. It's about delivering the reassurance so that people will think, yeah, I like that. I think I might just look a little bit further. And that's why there is a huge difference between B2B and B2C. And anybody that's offering advice out there, and there are lots of people doing that, 10 top tips, 100 top tips, whatever it might be, the crucial thing to understand is that this is not the majority of the people that we work for, in fact, the vast majority, and the companies that are here today aren't selling a product or a service where somebody can price match it and think, well, I'm going to get that delivered tomorrow. And so our job is actually much more difficult because we've got to do much more work. So that's really why there's such an important distinction, and more about that later. Now, where does email marketing fit in? Now, this isn't a definitive list of marketing channels, but in our opinion here at Essential Mail, email marketing is not a silver bullet. It isn't a one-hit wonder and it's going to generate all the business you ever need. It just doesn't work that way. What's important here is that you use these omni-channel marketing, an omni-channel approach in terms of what you do, but you also make sure that it all kind of works together in terms of the way you're looking online, your branding, and all those different things. And that's a really important point here, that your email marketing is only a small part of the way your marketing needs to work. And it is about customer experience at the end of the day. And I'll come on to a lot more of the detail around this. And so the whole point here is that you need to get those bits right. The first thing you need to do is you need to look at the way you are seen and perceived in the marketplace and make sure those bits are right. Broadly speaking, the majority of emails that you guys send out, or you are planning to, or however it works, certainly what we're doing, will generate leads and will generate links back to the website or to the company website, the clients we work for, and indeed your businesses too. So how good do you look online as a business? How good does your site look? How good is the proposition about what you can actually deliver? And how will you reassure your visitors that you are a great company to deal with? Not because you say it, but because your customers are saying it. Now, this last thing, anybody who has ever bumped into me in a marketing context or seen one of my webinars before knows that I'm going to be talking about my favorite marketing acronym, which is AIDA. And that stands for attention, interest, desire, and action. And I would challenge, and this is a challenge that you can do anytime you like about anything that you have as part of your external comms, external marketing communications, is to look at how you look online, in your email marketing, in any part of what you do, in your social media, that you need to attract attention, you need to be interesting, you need to create desire, and then you need something that's going to be a call to action, as in what do I do next? Now, more and more, the home page of your website, which now probably has a big image on it and it has some words on it, or it doesn't have any words, and you're making me scroll down. It's very like this, one of my favorite posters. Now I'm sitting here, I've got some glasses on, and here's a Specsavers poster 5 or 6 years old, but it still looks kind of familiar. It's the kind of thing that we still see because that's what they still do. So it's got an attractive image, somebody wearing glasses, a boy and a girl. It's got a simple proposition, 2 for 1 from £69, pretty much as it's always been. And then they should have gone to Specsavers. It's really very, very simple. And because email marketing is such a fleeting medium, as in it has to work really, really quickly, just like this poster does when I'm driving past in the car or you're driving past in the car. It has to work very quickly. And so often, not only do emails not work quickly, but if you actually get somebody to click and have a look at your website to do the next thing, it needs to work very quickly. Now, here's an example of a website that I've bumped into a couple of days ago, and I have no issues with this company, ProTasker. Bearing my marketing back to basics, that's my line, not theirs. And it's about them. It's all about them. At ProTasker, we strive for excellence. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit. And then this cringeworthy piece of copy here, I'll read it in case you can't. At ProTasker, we know it's our belief and our attitude that makes the difference. Work like you don't need money, love like you've never been hurt, and dance like no one's watching. Now, no one knows what they do. They're cringeworthy lines. And as I've kind of written down here, because I quite liked this idea, it is very much a kind of self-indulgent orgy of images and banal words. They mean nothing in the context of delivering some delivering some quality messages about what you do and where you add value. Do bear in mind that the average website homepage, 60+% are off that homepage within less than 10 seconds. So it's really important that everything, as I said earlier on, that everything kind of adds up in terms of all of those different marketing channels. And if you like your website, yeah, it is a marketing channel. Something else that's really important here, and again, this is a back to basics thing around marketing. This particular company, ProTasker, and trust me, I've got nothing against them per se, but at all actually. I don't know who they are, but I do know that if I look at them on LinkedIn, they have put in here, because that's what you fill in when you fill in your profile about your company, 51 to 200 employees, and then underneath it says see all to employees. Now, however good your messaging, however good your email marketing, how does it look when these things don't really add up? When you look at a company and you look at, and you can do this for yourself, so you look at a company, you Google them, and you see, hang on a minute, that doesn't seem right. This little house somewhere down a little back street somewhere. So just make sure that everything you're doing around the marketing space all adds up. Now, if you have a look at our website, and we don't design websites, you can see the people who work here. And there's a little picture of Cindy, who's my dog, who I bring to work. She's in charge of the yellow ball. You get a kind of idea that these things for Essential Mail are kind of adding up. There's some real people. They're doing a webinar this morning. They've got an address. They've got a proper phone number. Just make sure all those things. I know it sounds really elementary, but it is kind of really important. So let's touch on subject lines, which is one of those things that a lot of people talk about. And there's lots of advice about subject lines too. So I'm going to put some subject lines in front of you, and rather tell you about them first, I'm just going to give you the opportunity to have a quick look. So some red, some green. Now, the ones at the top are emails that have come into my inbox over time. You can see that it's been around for a bit, 2013. They're not targeted. There's no indication about what they are, because they're all about the company. They've all got a we or a me in front of them. Any subject line that's got a company name in it, the words, those dreaded words, newsletter, Safety Matters Winter 2013. I know it's not personal. I don't care that Omni Media, whoever they are, have rebranded. And I'm not interested in a newsletter. Newsletters do have some value, but delivering a newsletter by email effectively is saying, I've done no segmentation here. I don't care who I'm sending to, and a whole bunch of pretty negative things. Now, all of the green ones down here are ones that we've written, and they come from emails that we've written. And I could tell you for any one of these who they're for and what the sector is. So a culture of exclusion, who's guilty? It's an HR L&D type message for a training company, because the words a culture of exclusion is relevant to those people in big SMEs and corporates. Youth brands, stand still or die, that's a message for a marketing company who've got their finger on the pulse in terms of how to promote youth brands. And it's a fast moving place. Turn clicks into clients was for a search company. Recruitment without recruitment fees. I noticed there are some recruitment companies here today. And yeah, the normal way of recruitment, 15% of salary or however that works. If you put something forward, this is for an online business here, recruitment without recruitment fees, is a very attractive way of promoting a recruitment company. I know it doesn't work for some other businesses, but that's not the point here. Is your top talent about to jump ship? Again, is around the whole leadership, whole learning and development HR place. And I think there's a couple of companies here that kind of live in that space too. Show off your prowess with film. And I love this email. Hit this email here. It's a year and a half, 2 years old, black or white, or even a woman. And again, that was about bias, unconscious bias in the workplace. And again, it's from that training place. So think about your subject lines. Don't add in your name, anybody's name into a subject line, because it is clearly a selling message. The thought process here is don't sell with email marketing, just educate and teach and learn. And it's such an important place. It's such a very important place to remember that subject lines need to be thought-provoking, sufficiently thought-provoking, as short as possible and interesting, so that because that is the opportunity. The opportunity in email marketing is the subject line and then the beginning of the email. And if you lose your reader or the recipient at that point, even if you got that far and delivered the email, if you lose them at that point, it wasn't worth sending in the first place. Okay, so we're now coming on to the place which is about speed dating and I wonder if you have worked out how I'm going to make this link. And I think this is an interesting place, and it has to do a lot with marketing. So how am I going to make the link here? So in email marketing, you need to ask yourself a question. So for example, what do I need to say to the IT director so he or she says, yeah, I'm interested in that, the proposition within the email. I'm going to find out a little bit more. And then the key is, what does the guy who thinks he needs 5 minutes to talk about his mother and his last girlfriend, what does he need to say to the girl opposite, so that the girl opposite thinks, he's a really lovely guy, I think I'm going to fall in love with him. Now, there's a bit of humor around that. That's okay, but the principle is the same, as in, don't talk to people if you understand their needs. If this guy here, doesn't look that interesting actually, if he can say things to her that make her think, blimey, he knows lots about me, about this black top or whatever it might be, he's an interesting guy, then that is what marketing is all about. You need to put things in front of people so that you create or elicit the response. That's interesting. I'd like to know more. And you know, it is a challenge, because in our world where we are working for our clients, what our clients say to us is, we want our emails to really stand out. So how do you do that? How do you make your emails really stand out? Well, ironically, you probably do that by not making them stand out. So I'm going to show you an example here of a client that we don't work for these people anymore. So they've got a really nice set of products. So they've made this kind of prosthetic limb here, and they're a model maker, and they make really attractive models. They do work for Formula One teams, they do work for Land Rover, for Jaguar, Nissan, all sorts of interesting people. And this was an email that we wrote a couple of years ago now, blimey, 3 years ago now, but it still holds true. So nice subject line I like, James Bond and his models. When you go to see the next James Bond film, you'll be expecting the very best models. And if you remember the Ice Palace and the Antonov cargo plane in Die Another Day, you'll remember how good those models were. Steve, who works as a model maker, and so on and so forth. So we did this email, but we did it under duress, because we were told, we want to show everybody what we do. So we did, and we also did the email as a text only. So we're thinking as you can see, we're linking to the same bunch of people, and we've got the same subject line, and we sent it out at the same time. And we split the data 50-50. So what was the result of that? So we sent out 4,800 emails, here they are, and we split it 50-50. And we then looked at the clicks that came back from each of those emails. And from the picture email, we got 41 clicks. And from the text email, we got 136. Interestingly, this is another one here. This company here, so this is a company here. Actually, I can tell you it's fine. It's JCB, the digger people. So we sent 103 emails with a picture and 103 emails without the picture. What happened is for the picture email, they all bounced because the server at the other end, the firewall at the other end said, oh, I don't like this email, as in it's looking spammy. And the result was that 8 of the emails that had text only were delivered. So the thought process here is, however sexy and amazing your product is, remember that with email, it's a disruptive medium. You're asking somebody to look at something they haven't asked for. So respect that and do things in a way that might actually appeal to them. Now I'm going to touch on one more point here. And this is the one thing that never changes in any marketing is that you have to respect, or you have to understand that the people, you can only sell products that people want to buy. Now, I don't know if those of you that will remember this, but Alan Sugar, who I have a lot of respect for, not his management style perhaps, but certainly in terms of his gung-ho, get up and go, let's give it a go. He launched what was called an email, an Amstrad emailer back in 2000. So that was before everybody lived email, before smartphones or anything. So this sat in your hall or next to your phone and you could send emails from it, and it was a flop and it didn't work. And that doesn't matter, but the point is, whatever you're selling or whatever you're promoting through email marketing, in fact, whatever you're promoting out of your business, make sure that the market wants to buy that product. It's a really important point. So I'm now going to just touch on the whole thing around the anatomy of what an email, what do I think a good email looks like? And I'm just going to zoom through this. So this is my little anatomy. Again, this has been around for a bit too, blimey. So no header, from a real person to a real person, sent at an appropriate time of the day. Yellow and yellow is not great. Let's put some red in here. Polite. We probably say hello, Norman, now. But in those days we did, dear Norman. We talk about their pain. Pain is what it's about in the world of business to business email marketing, because the vast majority, if I look down the list of businesses here, if I didn't need to buy the services of a recruitment company or an accountant, I wouldn't. So what do you need to put in front of me, Nick Sladek, so that I think, blimey, that's interesting. I didn't know they did that, or I didn't know that's how it worked. So give them something that's interesting, something that's useful, an easy call to action. Spam score your copy so that you haven't got words, champagne, football, bunch of words that just aren't liked. Polite sign off, simple footer, nice and short email, as in I can read the whole thing. The temptation to try and do too much, it's almost overwhelming actually. So I'm now going to show you, and it's another email for this client actually, and I'm just going to kind of dissect it a little bit, because it comes down to writing content or writing emails that's appropriate for the market, for the business vertical, but also to respect the particular industry that you're talking to. Now, in this particular case, this is to a large SME corporate database where we've looked at the client has looked at the different kinds of industries and recognized that if you're talking to accountants or solicitors in this particular case, you need to talk to them differently, because solicitors and to some extent accountants, they're fee earners. So subject line, can top fee earners be good leaders too? The copy then touches on that point, because that is the pain that exists within those kinds of businesses. Can your top fee earners rise through the ranks and become good leaders as well as top performers, or will they brush aside their colleagues, leaving a chaos in their wake? The challenge, how to give leaders the skills to manage relationships with their teams and the self-awareness, blah, blah, and so it goes on. And then look at that, there's a link then to another a company in their marketplace. They're another firm of solicitors, I think. It's not until down here that we actually mention the client who is actually doing the, in inverted commas, selling. Simple stuff. Now, what do we get from that? This is a cold email sent out to a cold database. Great. We get a really personal response. I'm interested in talking to you further about the email below, plus a case study, and so on and so forth. So the point here is that if you take a step back and look at anything that you're producing and apply the kind of so what rule to it and ask yourself, is this content actually interesting? Then the result might be you get somebody who writes back to you and says, yes, it is. So remember, segment, target, and position, more of that in a second. Make sure your content is pertinent, timely, engaging, and shareable. Now, I can see, I'm not sure if my friend, the social media lady, is here, Sarah. I'm sure she would agree that anything that is interesting is potentially shareable. Now, not only is it forwardable, as in, blimey, that's interesting, I'm going to pass that on to the person that's responsible for that within the business, but if anything gets shared, like a blog or a post or something on LinkedIn or something somewhere, maybe on your website, and it's shareable, more people see it. And it is really difficult. It is what we're all trying to do all the time through social media and different marketing channels, if you like. We all want people to share our content, of course we do, but it's got to be interesting. And it's a really important point. How do you do that? Write it interesting. Well, maybe you can't. Maybe you do use a company like us or use somebody who really understands how to write good content. And in my world, in my experience, it's a real skill being able to do that. So remember also, you are taking up their time with email marketing because it is a disruptive medium. Very important to remember that. So do make it, this is a bit of a repetition in a sense, but make it appropriate, information rich, pertinent. Be humble, don't assume anything. Helpful and interesting, and then shareable, of course. You're more likely to elicit a positive response and better stats. So where are we going now? So we're going to talk a bit about the whole thing around measuring success. Well, it's kind of simple, actually. The vast majority of us are doing email marketing to create more business. We are selling. Now, it's a bit of a dirty word, and the reality is that I'm not, I'm sitting here because I want to share stuff, but I'd like you to remember us. And if you'd want somebody to do your email marketing, well, you know what? I wouldn't be at all unhappy if we had a conversation around that. So don't be shy about saying that. We're talking about sales here, or at least some engagement of some sort. So the whole thing around delivery is a crucial point. I'm not going to talk much about delivery because it's a separate section in terms of getting your emails delivered, and it is increasingly more difficult to do so. We'll talk a little bit about opens, hard bounces, unsubscribes, click-through open rates, shopping cart abandonment. So I'm just going to show you, and for some of you this may be not relevant to you because you fully understand this, but I'm just going to touch on a couple of things here. This is some typical stats that we would send out to a client. So we've sent 35,500 emails. I'm going to go to yellow, I think. We delivered 97% of them. We had 12.7% unique opens. Unique because if somebody opens an email a number of times, that flatters to deceive, as in that number could be considerably higher than that. So we've left it at that. We've talked about unique clicks. Again, if somebody clicks 5 times, let's just count it once. So we've got a click-through rate, which is a nice click-through rate of 5%. And then we've got a click-to-open rate. So those people that clicked and opened, those people that opened the email, they then went on to click. 40%, nice figures. Unsubscribe at just over 0.5% is okay too. For a first broadcast to a new list, you'd expect a higher list. Now, there are some really important points here, and one of the questions we often get asked is, if we do email marketing with you, Nick, what kind of open rates could we expect? Well, you know what, you can't answer a question like that, and anybody that just tells you it's this is being unrealistic, because if you go back to what do we want from email marketing, we want the right people to phone us up or get in touch and say, hey, accountancy firm, we'd like to work with you, or training company, or marketing, or legal recruitment, or whatever it might be. So it's unrealistic to answer those questions without a much better knowledge of the quality of the database, the quality of the offer and the content, the industry that we're working in, and the honesty and integrity of the message. And the reason that I say that is you can say absolutely anything in your email and get better stats. But ultimately, it comes back to that whole thing around reputation, having a good website, looking good on LinkedIn, looking good on social media, so that it all, oh yeah, this all works out. This all makes sense to me. So if you're going to say you've got 300 people working in your company and I can only see 2 of them on LinkedIn, that's created an anxiety for me. Now I'm just going to touch also on some numbers which I like, and we did a blog recently, a little while ago, how many tweets make a sale, and this comes from the world of PPC, so biddable media, as in searching for stuff on Google. Type in marketing agency and it delivers 4 ads now. Nothing down the side anymore, probably because Google works better on mobile devices in this way. So each of these, when I search for marketing agency, each of these is what's called an impression. Again, forgive me if you know this stuff. So when I search, it delivers an impression. Now, let's just look at those metrics again. If somebody searches for your service or product, they are delivered with natural search. Hang on a sec, let's just go back here. So natural search is everything below that line there. Paid search is this stuff here. So you Google something, you Google a marketing company, commercial property, consultancy, whatever it might be, engineering company, and you get, for every 100 impressions, you would reasonably expect probably 1 or 2 people to click on your ad or your impression. Of those people, so one in 100 or 2 in 100, only 2% are actually going to go on and engage with what's on your website, which makes that whole thing about the website so very, very important. Because if you're the jumping off at this stage, they are the 98% or 99% that think, I'm not sure about this, doesn't kind of make sense to me. I've lost where I am now. Bear with me a sec. Sorry, didn't do that well. So picking up on that point then, of those 2% that are going to engage with the website, 14% might actually buy. So if you want one sale, you need to be in front of 175,000 impressions need to appear in front of your target audience. Now the difference here, of course, is these people are searching for things and then they're being offered a whole range of different things, and whatever the words are in terms of these words that appear, can't read that now, sorry, the words that appear in these little mini ads here, that's kind of how it drives that. So the point is, how big a database do you need to be going to? You need to be going to a lot of people. You can't do email marketing with 500 people, unless of course you have this tiny rarefied market. But you know what? Most people don't have that, and it's therefore the challenge for most of us in this marketplace that we are constrained often by geography, as in the areas that we can go to, and then obviously by the number of opportunities that we can, the number of email leads we can buy, or the number of email leads that we've got within our own database or CRM. So let's just now touch on the whole thing about segmentation, targeting and positioning. Now, if you're sending out an email that just says this is our newsletter and I'm not going to bother segregating, what you're doing is you are not helping yourselves, because you're not spending the time so that you're talking an appropriate language. And this is the key point. If you're talking to an SME business and you're talking to the managing director, he or she is profit driven and unlikely to respond to an email that might be delivered to, say, an HR professional working within a corporate who isn't profit driven. The language is different. So here's a thought then. Think about your products and services, about where you're strong, where you've got good. So it may be an accountant or an event organizer or construction, but limit things so that you're not trying to target everybody, because you can't. So do your segmentation. Buy your data that is segmented, or segment the data that you already have, and then think about how that messaging is going to be different for the fee-earning accountant or the project-based construction company, whatever your service or product is that you're selling to them. So if you're not strong in schools, pubs, whatever it might be, don't try and target everybody, because it won't work. And then finally, in terms of positioning your product or your service, remember, solicitors have a different language. They have fee earners. They are broadly based companies, and I say broadly based in as much as that there are an awful lot of chiefs and less Indians than in an Alan Sugar type of company, which has got one charismatic boss at the top and then a lot of minions underneath, managers or whoever. And remember also that if you're talking to a charity, charities are like solicitors in as much as they rent a building or own a building. They have somebody in charge, they pay mortgages for their staff, they have heating and insurance. So what's the difference? Well, charities, the perception is that charities never have any money. Now, I would suggest to you guys out there today, and a lot of you would say, well, actually, we can't afford to do that now. We haven't got that much money or whatever it might be. So here's another thought in terms of what you're doing in terms of that segmentation. You can approach your marketing and just say, we're just going to talk to all of these people. And the question we're going to ask them, because this is a client that we work for, is who of you guys out here would like to buy wine for investment? You want to spend about £5 a month plus on buying wine for investment. Well, the reality is the chances are that almost none of them will be one, or that guy over there, or whoever it might be. However, if your data is well targeted and your data is well segmented, wouldn't it just be easier to talk to people that actually understand what the proposition is and are likely to buy from you? And it's a difficult one because email marketing is often seen as, well, we'll just send it out to anybody, but it shouldn't be. And that the more you target, the more you look at what you're doing in terms of the segmenting your marketplace, the more appropriate your copy and content can be, and the easier it is to actually then kind of sell the kind of product or service that you are interested in. So we're now going to just touch a whole little thing on the whole thing about where things go wrong. Now, I've picked on my friends at this company here, and this is their home page and of their website. And I think if I land here, I'm just not interested because it's just about them. And climb as high as you dream is just irrelevant to, well, I think it's irrelevant to everybody actually in the context of business to business marketing. There's another email here, which again, this is an email that's come to me here, and so I've had this for a little bit. So this is an American company. I don't know who they are. I've seen them around, and they are announcing to me that they're very pleased to announce that Brendan Porter is going to join the Averick Direct team as a business development representative. And it's like, I really, really don't care at all. They've also not managed to spell member correctly, which is made me chuckle. So the thing here is this is about, if there's one thing that's coming out here, I hope, it's that marketing is never, ever about you. It's about the needs of the people you wish to communicate with the caveat, of course, that you need to be able to deliver the things that you're talking about. So that's where I think things go wrong with email marketing. I think it's about not understanding that you need to appeal to the people you're working for, talk to them in an appropriate language, recognize that you're taking up their time, and don't say that you're passionate about what you do and that you're going to get, if you're an accountant, that you're going to get everything done on time and you're going to listen to, I'm not picking on accountants, and you're going to listen to your clients, because you know what, I kind of expect that anyway. What I'm interested in is to really understand about where you add value and why you're going to be great partners with me. So it's harsh, I know, but it's really important. So the next thing I want to just touch on is the whole thing about databases and market and where you're going to get your email marketing data. I was sort of shocked to see that this has been around for a bit, but I continue to be sent emails from companies claiming that they've been, as in this company, has 17 years of data experience. I can buy 1.8 million B2B records that are, hey, triple opted in, whatever that means, and it's only going to cost me £695. This is a scam, and all you need to do is you need to look up that URL on a lookup service, and you'll find that that company probably has only existed for 3 weeks or 4 weeks, and they want to flog some stuff to you cheap. And this is the mucky part of email marketing, which I don't like. And it's not necessary, because there are good quality providers around there that will provide good data. And yes, it costs dramatically more than £695. but it's just not worth taking that risk. So if you see something and you're unsure, just phone us up. We'll tell you for nothing, is it good data or is it not good data? And we work with a few data providers that we like and trust, and that's really the important thing here. So I'm just going to touch on the whole GDPR thing because it's a really important point. So this isn't actually new legislation. The point is that it will be enforceable from this figure here, and it has to do with opting in. That none of you, so if you've got a database at the moment that you've collected from some business cards that you picked up in the Goldfish Bowl at an exhibition you went to, you're holding data for people, and they have not expressed that, although they put the business card in the bowl, they haven't actually actively said, I am happy for you to market to me. They haven't said that, and therefore you will fall foul of this legislation. So this isn't anything to panic about right now, but we will be sending out stuff to our client base and also to, well, I'll probably send it to all of you guys if you're happy to receive it. This is all about legislation that's come from Europe, and what about Brexit? Brexit won't have happened by the time this legislation happens next year, so it will still stand. The trouble with it, and it's run by the Information Commissioner's Office, the ICO, the trouble with it is so onerous as to, I don't think, be realistic in terms of how it can actually work. So this is a watch this space, but do have a little think about it. I'm just going to pick up on one more point around the whole thing around getting people to opt in. And this is a little cartoon from my friend, the Marktoonist. I've licensed a couple of his cartoons because I think he's brilliant. So just read the words. Okay, so the point is don't make it difficult for somebody to, especially with email marketing, because you know who you're sending stuff to. Don't make it difficult for people to see what you've got, what you're about, to see your blogs or a white paper or whatever it is, because you know they've had a look from the analytics that you'll get. So just a point, just finally then, a few points to remember. Make it easy for your visitors to understand what you're offering. You need to have a great website. And the good thing about email marketing is you can send people to the landing page that's relevant to the market or the job title or the person you're communicating with. Don't be lazy. One size doesn't fit all. Have a look at your content and apply that so what test. If it isn't interesting or even shareable, then it isn't worth sending out. It doesn't do you any favors. You need to have a rigorous follow-up process for visitors to your shop. The shop is a metaphor here, as in the people that visit your website have come to your shop and said, oh, I'm interested in that. And what if you don't actually follow them up? Well, you're ignoring them. So whereas you might go into a shop and somebody says, can I help you, sir? Can I help you, madam? If you're not doing that with your online assets as well, then you're ignoring opportunities. Now, content is king. It's the one place, and good content is king. It's the one place that is my high horse here. It's got to be well written. It's got to be interesting. And good copy is difficult to write, and you are very close to your businesses because you work in them. If you can't write good copy or good content, get somebody else to write it who is good at doing the job of good content. And then don't get hung up on the metrics. Look deeper into why you're not getting quality conversions you need. You don't need very many of these businesses that are here today don't need a lot of business. They have 2 or 3 clients that sign up with them. They'll be pretty happy for the rest of the year. So the reality here is about quality. So if an email is delivering 0.5% or 1% less in terms of opens, don't panic about that. Look at what you're doing and the activities on Google Analytics, but also in the analytics that your email service provider should be providing to you, and have a look and could we do this in a different way. So that's it for today. Thank you very much for your time. If you've got any questions, very happy to help. I know I've only touched loosely on various subjects